The second part of the Chapter 8 discussion. It looks like I only have 15 minutes on my free Screencast-O-Matic recording. Whoops. So, yeah, that means that I went way over, and I'm still going over now. So I'll finish up this chapter and be really quick. What I was talking about was the fact that Scout was watching Miss Maudie's house burn down in a fire, and she was standing outside, and she didn't know that somebody had put a blanket on her while she was sitting out watching this fire because she was freezing. It was cold out. It was winter. And so they're trying to, at first they were a little confused about how she had that blanket. And Jim starts talking fast. He's like, Mr. Nathan Radley was at the fire. I saw him. I saw him. And basically the entire neighborhood was out at the fire helping Miss Maudie get her stuff out. So the only person who really could have conceivably put that blanket on her was Boo. He probably sneaked right out and put the blanket on her when she wasn't looking, and so that's really what astounds everybody. Like, all she had to do was turn around and she would have seen the mysterious Boo Radley, and she missed her opportunity. Jem stands up to his dad at this point. This is kind of a coming-of-age moment for Jem because he's been so immature in this book, but when Atticus wants to return the blanket to Mr. Nathan Radley, Jem says, no, let's not do that. Jim actually thinks about somebody else. He actually realizes that this could get Boo in trouble. Boo is not supposed to leave his house, apparently. And so he doesn't want to tell on Boo to Mr. Nathan Radley. So Atticus is like, you know what, that's a good point, kid. Let's not take that blanket back. And maybe you can thank him later. The last thing I want to talk about, and I will try to be quick, sorry, is Miss Maudie is not sad at the end of this chapter. They go outside and they see Miss Maudie, her burned down house, and she's actually just working on her plants already. They're kind of charred, but they're also frozen because it's still, cold out for them, and her hands are all torn up, and she hated her house anyways. It was too big for her. She's a widow. She liked working outside with her flowers, so really her plan is to build a smaller house so she can have a bigger yard, which is kind of cool of Miss Maudie. She's a cool cat, and she's actually interested in Scout too, and Scout and Jim. She says, hey, I heard there was a blanket. I heard Boo Radley came and put a blanket on your shoulders. Atticus told me. All you had to do was turn around. I would have turned around. And Scout's actually impressed that, Miss Maudie's house just burnt down, and she's still thinking of Scout's adventure of having the blanket around her. So Scout notices that about Miss Maudie. When they see her hands, they're like, we would have helped you out, which is a big sacrifice for kids, to offer to help, garden when they could be playing all day. And Miss Maudie says, thank you, sir, but she's talking to Jem because he makes the offer. She says, thank you, sir, but you've got a job of your own over there. And she points to their yard. She points across, and in their yard is, what she's pointing at is the snowman. It had melted in the fire, and it's like a heap of mud now, and probably a hat floating on top of it, and those shears. So she points to her yard. You mean the Morphodite? I asked. Shoot, we could rake him up in a jiffy. Miss Maudie stared down at me, her lips moving silently. Suddenly she put her hands to her head and whooped. When we left her, she was still chuckling. Jim said he didn't know what was the matter with her. That was just Miss Maudie. I don't know if you understand what's going on here. Miss Maudie says you need to clean up that mess. This is the melted snowman. That's a heap of mud, basically. And Scout looks at the mess, and she remembers that Miss Maudie calls the snowman a Morphodite. And she thinks that's the actual term for it. She doesn't know what Morphodite means. And so she goes, oh, you mean the Morphodite? Yeah, we'll take care of him. And Miss Maudie, just picture yourself in Miss Maudie's shoes. She probably forgot that she called the snowman a Morphodite. And she probably didn't even realize that the kids were listening. So she has to stare at Scout for a quick minute to understand what the heck Scout is like. Why is she using that word? She's a little kid. And she pieced it together. She probably remembered, oh shoot, I used that word to Atticus. Oh, she heard me. Oh, that's where she's talking about. And so she just starts laughing. She loses it. It's kind of funny when you hear kids swear or use a word that's not necessarily appropriate if they don't know what it means. Don't encourage it if you have younger siblings. But, sometimes that makes people laugh. And that's what Miss Maudie's doing. And they are genuinely confused, okay? When we left her, she was still chuckling. Jim said he didn't know what the matter with her, was the matter with her. That was just Miss Maudie. They think she's crazy, which is funny. All right, this is a 20-minute discussion on this chapter. It's a big chapter. There's a lot of symbolism. It's a great chapter. Hopefully, you got a lot out of it. All right, bye.